Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming podcast. February has come and gone. Technically, at the time of recording, I have like a week left in the month of February.
Yeah, but we're just saying this now. I'm saying that to defend us so that when new crazy news comes out in the next 7 days,
there surely can't be more industry-shaking news.
Sega is getting back into consoles.
In this last week, right? You know, so
Sega
much
Dreamcast 2.
Much has happened this month. I was just trying to take stock of all the major things, and it's a good thing that I decided to cover the Sony State of Play in that solo video last week, because that normally would have been, you know, good fodder for discussion. Plenty of interesting things to talk about there. How, you know, Sony getting out of their showcase slump of recent years, finally putting out something interesting. But now it's just completely blown out of the water by other things that that take precedence and or are more personally interesting to me. You know, we got some Bombshell stuff that just, you know, released within the last 24 hours, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, folks, how's your February been so far? How you boys been? It's been a little while since I've seen you.
It's been a quick month. I feel like it just started.
It's been an entire month without my car.
Oh, shit, really?
I'm supposed to be getting it back Tuesday or Wednesday.
Damn, that took him.
Still have the loaner?
Yep.
Still been rocking the loaner?
The loaner on all-season tires, which to anyone who's not from this area does not mean anything and is horrible and should never be used.
You say it's been a quick month, and I feel like that's true for everybody except for the focus of our first story, going all the way back to the end of January to rapid succession of Fallouts. We have
Fallout, New Vegas remake?
Yeah, we've seen everybody's favorite new live service, Golden Child, you know, reach the precipice and then fall right off. Folks, have you been Highguarding? Has anybody been Highguarding? Is anybody really out there playing this game? Apparently not. If the Steam charts are anything to go by.
A YouTube channel that I watch for Elden Ring content, while I was watching one of his like stream VODs for a run he was doing, he actively banned someone who was paying to constantly request he play Highguard.
Worth the ban, in my opinion. That's, you know, committing to the bit. That's pretty good.
I don't know. If someone kept paying $5 to send a message to get it read out loud to say play Highguard, I'd just keep telling them they need to keep upping the ante and then ban them after they put in $100.
Yeah. You know, Twitch should like implement that as a toggle feature, that if somebody donates a certain amount, it just clicks an auto ban.
Sicko ban.
I have less interest in debating I actually have zero interest in debating the merits of the game itself. It was never a game that any of us here were going to be interested in.
The only thing I feel bad for them about is I feel like a lot of the vitriol around the game is just entirely based on being the final game at the Game Awards.
Yes,
and I feel like it wouldn't have caught nearly as much internet hatred if it just...
Absolutely, it wouldn't have, but here's the thing. It would also have still crashed and burned, but at a much less grandiose scale. It would have never gotten its close to 100K concurrent players on Steam without Jeff hyping it up way beyond what it should. It had...
There was a podcast
the spark of marketing to it. That it just, if it had been even a middle of the show reveal, it would have come and gone with a yawn instead of an explosion.
There was a podcast I was listening to where they posited the idea back and forth whether or not they as developers should have taken Jeff's offer. And it's like, well, of course you take that offer because like Jeff's giving you like a premium window and like trying to...
I don't know who wouldn't. I honestly don't know who wouldn't.
It would be malpractice not to.
It's clear that their marketing department were all
because they were initially going to release the game with no marketing, and they were going
which is again also stupid. They were trying to recreate Apex Legends without any of the institutional backing.
I mean, they were Apex devs, right? That's the
yeah. They were former Apex and from the creators of Titanfall. But my interest is two-part. The first one that I want to kind of bring up in that I don't really have anything to show on screen of it. It would have taken a lot of time to collect all these things. But what I find interesting was how, again, the game even before it released was subject to all the internet hate, as you mentioned, Matt. It was, it was Dead on Arrival. It was Concord 2, all this. But seeing it release and seeing it get its wave of review bombing, I noticed an interesting trend of other industry devs and some cadre of journalists feeling compelled to come to its defense. And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on why you think that was. I have my materialist analysis of it, that why they felt compelled to go to bat for this game that they would never play, would never make, would never find like to find Sven from Larian defending this game was really weird to me. It's like this is the type of corporate slop that, is antithetical to the kind of artistic vision of those kind of developers, but they still felt compelled to defend it. You would hear, and I'll let you get to your point in just a second, Matt, but you would hear like journalists who maybe even weren't reviewing the game, when asked their opinions, you could tell, like there were videos that I was watching, and I could pull one up now where someone asked, like, it's like, what do you think of it? And it's like they're about to say, yeah, it's not very good, but then they catch themselves. And there was like a GameSpot video that I one of their like little podcast things, and one of the hosts was just like kept having to check herself to be like to not say anything bad about it, to be as uncritical in her analysis as possible. And I wanted to like just get at what was going on, why the need to go to bat for this, which was by all accounts, not worth the time or effort with how quickly it has imploded. So Matt, you were saying something.
All I was going to say is I think it just comes down to, news coming out of last year was that I think it was a third of the gaming industry was laid off last year. Gaming as an industry in a whole sense is not in a great place right now. They're still coming to the ramifications of the post-COVID hiring boom and now like the post-COVID decline in usage. And these are former developers who have left a studio who are trying to, start something new. And I think a lot of people just don't want to, bury a hatchet in them and try to kick them or push them down from that perspective. And, knowing that if this fails, that's just more people to add to the pile of lost jobs and continuing the statistic of gaming industry turnover.
Well, as has been proven out, right, is that's like the first part of it, is that the first part of this ongoing saga now is that the game tanked and the majority of the studio got laid off. And
I think it's just a bunch of people who know how the platform works and don't want to be a part of the reasoning why. Like, they don't want people to point and be like, well, Sven said the game sucks, so that's why.
Well, but here's the thing, is like, why did Sven need to say anything at all? I'm not asking him to come out and criticize this game.
I don't think that's his public publicity that isn't. Sven Licky says AI will now be an integral part of everyday life for him and his developers.
Yeah, but I don't think that, that is part of his analysis either, because, him defending this game is not earning him points from...
No, but it changes the news cycle.
From his critics, from his recent critics.
So I think the like protectionist type of view is a fair one. I look at it more so as a counter to what is often bad faith, loudest vocal critic shit that you see with the gaming community. Because, as we've seen, whether a game is good or not does not necessarily correlate to the online response. So I think it's, when I think about it, I look at it as not wanting to give those bad faith actors, those loudest people online, any more airtime than they already get.
I can understand that impulse for a game that is just being maligned as woke trash and being review bombed because it is
Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah, because its protagonist is a woman or a person of color, or studios are made by diverse studios or things
or
like
a
that.
person of color, woman,
Yeah.
LGBT.
Yeah, I can understand that, but I think it's also not right to lay this game's failure exclusively at the feet of, like, you know, the review bombing and of those bad faith actors. It is clear here, you know, the fact that it had such a high player count and fell off so precipitously that, of course, a portion of those people were just getting on the hate bandwagon and wanting to get just the snippet of playtime to be able to leave a negative review on Steam, which is just doing it for a bit, right? You know, they get nothing out of that. There's nothing there, but that discounts, that allows creatives off the hook for creating something that is, or for making something that is creatively bankrupt. As we seen with this game, that this was just a uncritical amalgamation of different of concepts from other games that have already been successful thrown together. They loved to say that this is something that has never been seen before. The only reason that is the case is because it took the gear up system from Apex, the reinforcement and bomb defusal aspect of what's it called, of Siege, and or CS:GO or whatever, and mesh them together. It's the unholy fusion was the new thing, but it was done in such a way that the elements didn't work, and you know, you can say it was unsuccessful because of how they marketed it, how they rolled the game out, right? If they had done what every other live service game does, and you know, does public playtesting, public betas, that the game that they launched as a finished product should have been the beta version that they then got feedback from and iterated on and then released to a 1.0. That the failures of this game are problems of their own making. That this was, yes, there was a hate campaign. That you can't say that those people didn't exist, but to lay the failure of the game and of the studio solely at that regard removes them of any culpability. And that gets to the next part of the story that I want to get to, is this one developer who published this article on Twitter, on X, the everything site. I'm really glad that they did it, because it showed exactly what was wrong and why this game failed. And it speaks to what I've just been talking about, is that there is zero accountability that is being taken in by the developers. It is the Principal Skinner meme. Am I out of touch? No, it's you gamers. But before I move into that, and I do have some things,
because gamers are always wrong.
Correct. I have to show, but my analysis just comes down to, it's less about you were kind of talking about, like, they wanted to show solidarity with developers. They don't want to contribute to the reasons why another studio gets decimated, why another 80 to 100 people get laid off. They don't want to contribute to that. That's the best possible reading of it. I take a way more cynical reading of it, and that it's pure class solidarity. That this is solidarity of self-interest. They feel that they need to defend this game, which was the current subject of public ire, in order to protect themselves in the future. This is less about them feeling that this was a game or a creative endeavor that was worth seeing the light of day and worth experiencing and worth defending. It's more like, we need to push a narrative that games will fail only because of the capital G gamer, not because of any poor decisions that we and particularly people like Sven, PMC, the professional managerial class, by any fuck up that we will make. It removes any culpability from them. It is in their class interest, their material self-interest, to be on the side of, yes, it's gamers' fault that this was only died because of a hate campaign.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before I do want to move to this?
I don't disagree with you, and I think you're probably right.
I will say, to me, to journalists though.
Access.
Yeah. But to me, it's more.
It's a similar kind of thing. It is protecting, again, their own material interest.
Yeah, you're right. I don't disagree. I think my one slight counter statement would be that I think like this game shouldn't be a conversation at all. Like what, like the only reason we're talking about it is because of how it was rolled out and that like negative response.
Shouldn't they be held responsible for that? These were choices that they made and choices that backfired. This is what happens. It's like, do they deserve to be harassed? Do they deserve to be harassed for it? No, that's not
right. But they don't. It doesn't give them the right to not, take some
accountability.
Yeah, accountability and say, yeah, we didn't create the product we wanted to here. Yeah,
No, to be critical of something does not necessarily mean that you are, and shouldn't be. You should not be harassing people with your criticism. You can be critical of something like this without resorting to hate.
No, I personally make sure every time I review a young engineer's set of drawings that I want them to fucking cry and want to leave the profession by the time I'm done with that review. I make it so personal. I look at it and like, your fucking mouse hand is dog shit. You have no control over those fucking lines.
Again, it builds character. Yeah,
so you spell this word wrong, you're a fucking engineer. You should know how to spell words. Wait.
So the problem that happened here is that this. Can you see it at all?
It's very small.
That is like the window is so wide, and then the actual article might take up.
So this isn't even an article. This is a
tweet might take up 20%. We're getting
this
there.
This is a screen cap.
Enhanced.
There we go. So this is a screen cap because it's not even of the whole thing, but I just wanted to make sure that we got this first part here. I really should have taken screenshots of this. I should have guessed. You can't access the full letter anymore because he not only deleted the post, deleted his whole Twitter account.
Nothing is ever deleted on the internet.
It's not like archived on I couldn't like access it through the Wayback Machine.
Dude, all you gotta do, send Elon a little DM, be like, hey Elon, hey baby, can you get me this info for this one user real quick? I'll pay you $5 to put a blue check.
So it's gone. He's scrubbed it from the internet. All the articles describing this letter pulls large quotes, but not the full thing. And it was including this first part here. Again, this encapsulates what was kind of rotten at the core of not just the project but the studio culture. It talks about how they were so excited about the Game Awards presentation. The future seemed bright. Everyone I knew who had any connection to the team or project had the same sentiments. This is lightning in a bottle. I trust this team wholeheartedly. If there's one project nobody in the industry is worried will fail, it's yours. This has mainstream hit written all over it. There's no way this will flop. I could play this game all day. It's like the classic tweet of those fools who, were destroyed for their hubris. They should have known better. But we're better. Maybe even better than the gods. It's like, so how do you write this and not have any bit of self-reflection?
Because they even admit that they're autistic.
They did. They did. That was another part of the review that I know a lot of people are like, oh man, maybe I should stop. Maybe I should stop and hold back on my criticisms of this person. Is like, that they say in the letter that because they had their autism diagnosis in their Twitter profile, people jumped onto that as game's gonna be gay and woke because of that.
Listen, I do want to hate on this because if you really felt this way, you yourself are a rube, but then at the same time they're like, my brain don't work, and it's like, all right, I guess that's how you're gonna put it. I can see why you thought this
but
was
this
real.
Is not just them. This is everyone I knew who had any connection to the team or project. That this was the vibe that the studio was going around. In my opinion, through this story, the term has gotten thrown around a little bit too much to the point where it kind of stops losing meaning. But you have to question, the whole toxic positivity thing. That is this really what was happening? Toxic positivity isn't just being positive and having blinders on, because what this appears to me is that they were just in a bubble. They were just suffering from confirmation bias. This team seemed
it's something that
super passionate.
It's something startups tend to have as a struggle, is you have an idea and then it's basically built into the circular logic of everyone at the startup believes in it, so everyone's really invested in it, so you get really positive about it, so you're really trying really hard, and then you finally release it and it doesn't do as well, and you're just sitting there wondering what
happened? What
like we cared so much about this, we put so much effort into it, how could
I think you're right. So toxic positivity is different. Toxic positivity is a refusal to hear criticism. It is that this is so good. I trust this team implicitly. Nothing can go wrong. From my reading of this and from other employees that have talked about it, that those criticisms never arose. There was only positive stuff. Like, I know that the distinction is kind of hard to pin down, but toxic positivity is a denial of criticism and is in fact an ostracizing of critics. This just seems like that, again, that they were so in their own bubble, that they were so self-biased that those criticisms never emerged. From what it seems is that everybody on this team just thought that this was the best thing ever. That they were like, yeah, we've done so many internal play tests. We love playing this so much, so obviously everybody else is going to. They didn't have anybody in the room being like, maybe this isn't great. Toxic positivity has to basically have somebody in the room who's saying that and who is getting shut down because of it.
Fire.
So there is a slight difference here.
Thrown out a window.
Yeah, I don't know how much I want to share of the rest of the letter, just because, again, it was pretty long, and again, we've kind of actually touched on a lot of things. Again, the hate campaign, the dogpiling on the trailer. He talks about some of these things, like, what, you couldn't torture these things out of me, like
no. This
like
just...
like admitting, like, this has to be some type of humiliation ritual type of thing, or like, not, besides having autism in his bio, he must have a humiliation fetish, because they laughed at me for being proud of the game, told me to get out the McDonald's applications.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
Like, these things too, like pointing these out. Comment sections were flooded with copy-paste meme phrases such as Concord 2 and Titanfall 3 died for this. Like, again, you couldn't get me to admit these things. And maybe, I guess, I credit these admissions to the autism diagnosis. This is perhaps a lack of social awareness that you can't necessarily blame this individual for. But what you can blame them for is this lack of accountability and this insistence on, it says here, I'm not saying our failure is purely the fault of gamer culture and that the game would have thrived without negative discourse, but it absolutely played a role. All products are at the whims of the consumers, and the consumers put absurd amounts of effort into slandering Highguard, and it worked. So it's basically saying, I'm not blaming it, but I am.
Yeah.
Self-contradicting here. Put absurd amounts of effort into slandering Highguard. I don't think so. People played your game and didn't like it. It's not slander if it's true.
Right. And
I mean, there's a layer to it, though, because, like, if you don't like something and you say, yeah, I don't like it, it's bad, you move on. There are people who just hang on it, though, and just consistently will be like, this game is horrible, everyone who made it is horrible, they should all fucking kill themselves, anyone who likes this game should kill themselves.
Yeah, which is, again, gets back to what I've said, is yes, that criticism should exist free from the harassment, right? Yeah. That we can all and should condemn the people who act that way and who get some type of sadistic thrill
who get hung up on hating something and don't move past it.
Yeah, that's not healthy.
Most well-adjusted people don't like something, go, yep, didn't like it, well, move on.
Totally true. So, like, just two things here. One, something that I think we haven't talked about that really was a disservice to Highguard's reception was just how radio silent they went from the Game Awards to actually, like, releasing the game. Like, they let these negative narratives kind of take hold by not even doing anything.
That's just a product of that's how they originally were intending to market.
Which again
is talk about the game.
which shows again that they were not equipped to handle this. By the fact that they were going to do this shadow drop, which again, for various reasons you could argue was not the right strategy from the get-go. But you then abandon that by choosing to do the Game Awards trailer, which we all are in agreement of. Who turns that down? So if you're
I'm
given
sure
that,
if you gave them a button,
but you have to then change at that point. Basically, you're like, okay, this was our plan. We are given this opportunity. We can't squander it. We now have to completely adjust our marketing strategy based off of that. So to then go back to the original plan was just them panicking. They're like, oh no, the reception was so bad. We can't do anything else. Okay, we gotta pretend like it didn't happen and go back to our original plan.
Just forget it. Also, and then the one other thing is I like this idea of how the consumer, consumers are what you need to be successful in the society. So like, yeah, that's who has the power here. You need the consumer to buy your shit, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And then this is the last bit, and I just want to, we've already gone a little bit too long on this, but they ends the letter that even if Highguard had a rocky launch, our independent self-published dev-led studio. That was another thing that is trying to and drummed up a bunch of support from other industry people. Is like, this is an independent effort. To then be undercut by the latest revelation from GameFile's Stephen Totillo that was not the case. That is actually a lie and was undisclosed, that they were in fact being funded by Chinese gaming mogul and tech conglomerate Tencent.
Very indie.
And this, of course, got a lot of people upset, and I think rightly so. I do want to also decouple it from, there's also a huge aspect of it, of the hysterical anti-Chinese aspect to it. In my opinion, Tencent is no different than Microsoft, our boy right here, who we're going to get to later. Is no different than Microsoft. Is no different than the Saudis investing in EA. Right? The fact that they're a Chinese company is not what's relevant here. What's relevant to the story is the fact that they claimed this self-funded independent status.
Stolen valor. Stolen valor is what we're talking about.
Absolutely. And is the one thing that it's clear to look at here is this is why the game is imploding, and why the devs had to be let go, is because they were beholden to a corporate precedent, that they weren't seeing enough microtransactions, that they did not have the so-called self-funding.
Setup was never going to make a free-to-play game money. The idea being a $20 one-time purchase, the amount of players you would need to maintain for that purchase to stack up.
I never looked into their monetization thing, but I did see some report that they had released like another, whether it's like a paid battle pass type thing or a set thing, and that sales were like literally in the single digits of people who actually spend money on it for that particular bundle or package or whatever it was.
People have to remember that microtransaction, the thing that makes them work is the term micro. They need to be purchase numbers small enough that people forget how they stack up and be like, ooh, $3, it's fine. $2.99,
it speaks to the fundamental mismanagement that was going on here. I know it got a lot of press and a lot of flack of like one of the studio heads saying, we don't need large player counts to succeed. We need a dedicated fan base. They were, and it goes to that monetization that you're describing there. They were betting on whales. They're like, we need like 100 or 1,000 whales who are going to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on this. And that's just, they just fundamentally did not understand the market that they were getting into, which is wild coming from being former Apex. Like, I don't understand how they misread the room so poorly. And fundamentally,
depends on what part of the Apex team they were too. If it's primarily developers, they might not be the people who are savvy with the accounting and money side of things.
Sure,
or player
they had somebody
retention.
there. I have not, like, I don't know. The 10-cent bit was the last kind of nail in the coffin, and it's like, yeah, clearly 10-cent is not going to give them carte blanche to have this. The phrase that keeps getting thrown out is the runway that they needed to launch, go through troubleshooting phases, get people on board gradually, even a small user base, to start spending a little bit of money. They didn't have that. They had to hit it big. They had to hit it big right out of the gate. And again, they were so insulated with their own positivity that they're like, yeah, it's going to hit. It's the lightning in a bottle. We don't need the runway of cash to keep people salaried while the game gains momentum. It's going to have it out the gate. And here's the real tragedy at the heart of all this is that the people who, as always, the people who made those terrible decisions are going to see no effect of this. They are still there. They will, if the studio somehow manages to stay afloat in any capacity, because it hasn't officially shuttered yet, they're still there. But even if it does, they're just going to fail upwards. That the creatives at the heart of this thing, they're the ones who reap the rewards of leadership's hubris. Speaking of mismanagement, shall we get into our next major bombshell that dropped earlier this week? Matt, I think it's to you.
Sorry, I had to move it.
Highguard, folks. It's not the most timely of news from the time of recording, but there was just so much going on with it, and so much, I think, material analysis that needed to be done, that I've really wanted to make sure we brought it to the show. And it's just like, it's a baffling series of events to me, and
you need to let it go.
Yeah, no, it's just a unique case study that I think that is why it should exist, and where it's like this cautionary tale that you need to look at. Even more so than something like Concord.
You broke my transition, because I was going to say you need to let it go, similar to how Sony decided they needed to let go of something else.
This one hurts, dude. This one hurts.
So this was late last week, or was it earlier this week? No, it was Thursday.
This was early. This was pretty early this week.
It was Thursday. The news came, the next news came Friday, and it was like Sony does one thing, Microsoft steps on rake immediately to cover them. Yeah, so the news came out that Sony had shuttered Bluepoint Studios, a company that they had acquired. That was 2021 acquisition.
It was after Demon's Souls came out.
Yes, and I think it was technically after, but it probably had the bones of it before.
The deal was probably being made in the process.
Bluepoint being a smaller studio, I think number I'd seen was about 70 people working at Bluepoint, Austin, Texas based. Yeah, but Sony gave them the closure axe, joining, I think it's 12 others. I think it's 13 total studios out of 37 that Sony had acquired that have now been closed. I think that was the statistic.
Those are some Xbox numbers, baby.
No, unfortunately. I think the scope is a little different.
Scope, sure, but yeah, I'd be interested to see what's the percentage of studios bought.
I don't think Microsoft has acquired 37 studios, is what I was getting to. I think they've acquired less.
So the percentage might be higher then.
It's definitely higher. It's definitely higher.
Yeah, my reaction to this news coming out was, in the group chat, was unfortunately not unexpected, and that's just how I approached the news. I mean, it's unfortunate that they lost their jobs, and it came, within the week of me platinuming the Demon's Souls remake, so it's my fault personally. They waited for me to do it, and they're like,
dude, okay, and the Shadow of the Colossus remake that they did in 2018 is like maybe one of like the best remakes ever made.
That's Crash Insane Trilogy erasure. But no, the reason I said what I said in the group chat about not being unexpected, the unfortunate nature is you look at it and go, so the Demon's Souls remake came out, that was a launch title for the PS5, so that was late 2020, and it's now been 5.25-ish years since then with no additional output. They had the God of War live service game that they signed up for that Sony canceled.
I still think it's unfair to say that they signed up for it. That has not been confirmed. I cannot for the life of me find confirmation on that And I feel like that would be all over the place. Every source that I can find, anybody that's talking about this story, it's at the very least assumed. I don't know that I can maybe at least budge and say that we don't know for certain. But it's across the industry, it is the widely held assumption that this was not something that they chose to do, that this was something mandated on high from Sony. That it was part of the live service initiative is put as many of their studios as possible onto live service projects. I can't imagine that this was their at the very least their first choice. And what makes the decision, galling as well is that there's of course the whole Bloodborne thing that has potentially other levels of fuckery going on. But these devs they worked on a remaster for God of War collection. They were on this God of War live service project. Yep. But Sony has just announced that they're doing the God of War remake trilogy. Are they not the obvious contenders to do that? That Sony is still obviously and gets criticized for this, right? For being too focused on remakes. But then they're still engaged in that. Yet they close the best ones doing it. Make it make sense. How do they put them on a live service God of War game and not the God of War remakes?
Yeah,
I don't understand it. There's just fundamental mismanaging.
That can come down to wanting the original studio to have their crack at it. And saying, Sony Santa Monica, do you want to do this? Yes, then we're going to let you do it.
I don't know that they are, though. They might, but even in the case, because Santa Monica has been, they just did this with...
That's the exact same thing that goes with Bloodborne. People assumed, and I had said it for a while, that it would make sense that Bluepoint would do a Demon Souls remake, and then they would do a Bloodborne remake. But at the same time, we know that Miyazaki holds Bloodborne in a very special place for himself. Would Sony look at him and say, we're going to hand your baby to some other studio to do the work? Or if they wanted to do it, would they go, hey, do you want to do this? No, that's why the game hasn't been touched.
Sony or Santa Monica has been doing co-dev, though. So that's what they did for...
co-developed with Santa Monica on Ragnarok.
Exactly. And so again, they are well situated to take the lead on this. And so Santa Monica is obviously willing to do co-dev. That's what they've just did with this Sons of Sparta game that Shadow dropped at the State of Play. That they were their narrative leads, led the narrative team on that game, but then it was a smaller studio that ran most of the dev. The one bit of speculation that I've seen as to why this could have happened, it does not let Sony off the hook. It still again speaks to their mismanagement. Is that we don't know for certain. We don't know what this looks like, but that Bluepoint could have been suffering from serious talent drain. That we don't know how many of original devs who worked on the storied and successful remakes left the studio because they didn't want to do the live service. That when put on the live service game, whether a decision either forced upon them or proactively taken by Bluepoint's management to satisfy Daddy Sony with their live service push, that perhaps that they lost so much of their talent that then upon review, yes, Sony is like, okay, rather than put them on another remake project, the talent that made Demon Souls what it was are gone.
To a point where they've now been a purchased and funded studio for about 5 years. Their one game that they were going to be working on got canceled. They didn't have anything in the pipeline as far enough in development to be able to have a point and be like, okay, you don't have anything right now, but by 2028 you'll have a game out. I think that was part of the criteria that they looked at, and they looked at it and went, we don't see anything upcoming, so then we'd be funding you for another 4 years before the next game that comes out. And say it's another remake, is that going to make us enough money to have justified 9 years of holding on to you? That's the accounting side of it.
I get what you're saying. And I think you're probably right that they are taking the...
Because I love the Demon Souls remake, but for all accounting purposes, I don't think it sold incredibly well. I think it was a less than 2 million sales type of game.
I think the last time I checked it. I mean, I don't know that the original Demon Souls sold that many copies.
And that's because, like, I'm just bringing this back around to Bloodborne. I read a Reddit comment that someone was like, if they made a Bloodborne remake, it would sell 15 million copies immediately. And I was like, Bloodborne by itself only sold 9 million. Like, are we?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It would be interesting to see what would happen with that, just because FromSoft exists in a post Elden Ring landscape now, that any game with their, even if they had a co-dev, or not even, if they didn't have anything to do with a Bloodborne remake, but it's still being, being still thought of as a FromSoft game, there's a potential that yes, it would outsell its original run, because Elden Ring broke truly into the mainstream. That it's possible. Demon Souls, when it released, hadn't. We weren't in the Elden Ring world yet. So there's some potential argument to be had there that a Bloodborne remake would sell really well. But that's speculative. We don't know. And I think you're probably right that if they're looking at from a pure accounting standpoint, you're probably right. You're probably right of, yes, they can't financially justify spending more money with no product yet. But then it still speaks to how fundamentally mismanaged they were by Sony and how mishandled they were. It doesn't do anybody any good to just think about that in hindsight. But the reason why they don't have something out right now is because of the decision, whoever's it was, to put them on the live service game. That's the reason why.
And I mean, I said my part in the group chat regarding what I thought my headcanon, which is just speculation, of what happened was they get purchased by Sony. They see Sony goes, we want a bunch of live service games. They go, well, we've worked on God of War. We could do a God of War live service game. And then that would get Sony happy, and they would give us, funding, and, yes, do that for us. And that was that was my thought of how the interaction went down. Of, we see they want this, we'll do this, we'll pitch it to them. They like the pitch, and the unfortunate nature being 2-3 years in, then they go, oh, we don't. So we've had some failures, and we don't want to, overinvest into a bunch of more stuff that's going to either damage the brand or damage us financially, potentially. That's that.
Honestly, Herman Hulse needs to be put in the cock and ball torture machine and not released at any time in the near future. This was from his letter explaining their reasoning behind cutting Bluepoint. We're operating in an increasingly challenging industry environment. Rising development costs, slowed industry growth, changing player behavior, and broader economic headwinds are making it harder to build games sustainably. And I sent this to the group chat yesterday. Sony as a company has posted record profits amongst all this. Yeah. Gaming profits are slightly down. Hardware is at the leading, hardware sales dipping is at the leading end of that. But Sony as a company has just posted record profits, and they're still doing shit like this. They're still saying, economic conditions are too hard for us to actually manage our properties correctly.
That's how you stay with record profits, is you cut your losses.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, these acquisitions were a lot of them were driven by a hope that,
well, some of them were retaliatory.
There's sure, but the business
this
case...
all came in the post acquisition boom of Microsoft is going nuclear and buying Bethesda. They're going nuclear and buying Activision.
Right.
We need to buy things too.
Right, but the idea behind all of that is economies of scale, and we can increase our profit margins through these acquisitions. And the reality has just not been that. They've seen margins erode over the last 5 years consistently throughout the industry. And because those margins are eroding, whether or not the number is still positive, which it is, it's not going up to the extent it should be going up. And that's bad in the world of shareholder capitalism. So these investments aren't returning in the way they expected them to or want them to. So it doesn't even matter that, Sony as a whole is doing well, because the invested dollars here aren't. They are lagging what they wanted.
I can correlate that to a personal thing for me. So my company, not to be named, has an ESOP, and the previous 5 years, the ESOP had grown 30%, 27%, 42%, 22%, and then 26% year to year. And this year it only grew 13%. And a lot of people were treating that like a huge negative. I'm looking at it like, well, 13% is still good, but I understand where you're coming from, where if you had, 3 years ago, you had a 42% ESOP growth, like falling all the way down to 13% would indicate that something is wrong.
It's a bummer though. This is a bummer.
I mean, I don't like seeing anyone losing their jobs. Like, that's the unfortunate side of it. That's why just one of those things where
they do good stuff. They do good work. That's I think the real loss here is what they do is has
like I've
been
listened to a podcast who talked about like, well, is there someone who could swoop in and treat this like Tango and purchase them after instead of letting them be shuttered? And they were saying that the problem is it's what they work on. Is like they don't like people swooped in and bought Tango because they had Hi-Fi Rush and they had original IP that they were going to expand upon. Stuff, yeah. But Bluepoint has essentially existed purely on PlayStation remakes.
On licensing.
Yeah.
So you would have to find a studio who has IP that they'd be willing to hand over. And they're like, Ubisoft's not in the financial situation to do this right now. EA wouldn't. Like, you'd have to be looking at some of these bigger ones. Like, Embracer doesn't have the IP to be handing out that way.
No, but it is Ben. I do wonder how much the financial underperformance is coupled with flight of talent, because it is weird for them to not just appoint Bluepoint, the in-house remake studio. Like, why wouldn't you just do it unless you felt they were no longer up to the task?
Yeah, it's just something is not adding up with where their goals are going, or like where they are still, how Sony is still developing games, and where Bluepoint was positioned to be activated along that kind of axis. It just doesn't make sense, which is, again, what this article is pointing out here again, that they co-developed God of War Ragnarok. They're obviously the live service one, and they're remaking the original trilogy, so that it would have screamed, yes, they should have been put on at least in co-development status for that as well. Yeah, maybe it's possible though that some other, it would probably be something like Krafton did with Tango. Be something like Krafton or fucking, I don't know about Tencent, but like, yeah, I'm not hoping for like these large companies to come in and save the day. I don't think that that's particularly healthy either, but I don't know. It is possible that the team is able to stay together in some other capacity under some other banner to be kind of rescued some way. It's possible, but
and I mean, they could have also reorged some of these people to other in-house studios and things like that. It's not like shuttering the studio means that all of those people are now without a job.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing anything in these announcements about they're
like Microsoft has done that before, where
you're right. There wasn't anything.
They close Activision studios and then reshuffle them into other Call of Duty studios.
It's not like, this is not the same. It's not like they're going to take these, Austin-based devs and incorporate them into like Team Asobi, the remnants of Japan studio. They're not going to do that. That doesn't work.
They're the new, Austin-based FromSoft studio.
Well, you know who does have an Austin-based studio? Don't our little friends, the old Prey developers, Arcane Austin? Or did that one get closed?
That's the one that got closed. The one that's still around is Leon. Leon is still there.
I was trying to set that up as a transition point too, to Arcane, owned by Microsoft, who decided that they can't allow Sony. Microsoft is the soldier taking knives meme.
Yeah. The soldier father protecting the, or it's the meme with the clown throwing like hatchets and stuff and into the guy's back, and then Winton comes up with his shield and blocks that one. Love that one.
So moving on to Microsoft. The Phil Spencer era is over. It's dead.
No more bomber
jackets.
Yes.
It's gone. his protege as well, Sarah Bond, got the axe. I don't know, guys. This to me reads like Microsoft finally was like, we're done with you. This has been a bad decade, and you're both
but if they're
gone.
done with him, then why promote Matt Booty?
I don't know. The Matt Booty promotion is weird. I do agree, but
How much of a promotion is it? How much exactly of a promotion is it?
It's not much of a promotion.
Is it really just kind of
the
a
headlines?
lateral?
It's Matt Booty gets.
It's just a change in title.
Because they should have gone full clean. Got Matt Booty out, got Sarah Bond out, got Phil Spencer out.
Sarah Bond not
Instead
even getting
of an
a
AI
letter.
executive, just put an AI in charge. Just
Yeah.
put Copilot.
But so I think that they were both fired. But
Definitely.
I think Phil's was a little bit more.
They
planned.
gave Phil the chance to walk away.
Yeah.
That they basically told they did it. They optically did it all this way, but I think there's some truth to Phil's statement where it's like he talks about like how in one of his letters, I don't know if it's in this article, but it's like, you know, he approached Satya.
Yeah. He said last fall I shared with Satya I wanted to move on to the next stage of my life.
I think it honestly may have been the other way around. That they just like talked to him. I think it's time for you to step down. Let's do so gracefully with a golden parachute, and we'll let you set the narrative and all that.
There's no doubt about it. It has been a 5 years of bad for this leadership. It's more than 5, but that 5-year mark is the prior 5 years could still be attributed to the fuck ups of leadership before them. So it's really the last 5 years that are their fault, particularly the Activision acquisition, which has been a dumpster fire in terms of financial performance. Like what they are getting in return for their invested capital is not what they thought they were going to be getting.
And if I went back to 2015 and told Phil Spencer that all of his work would result in Sony getting Halo, Gears of War,
it's bad. It's a bad tenure.
His next console selling worse than his current console, which sold worse than his previous console.
Bad tenure. I absolutely think they got the axe. There's no doubt in my mind.
Letting Phil retire gives him better packaging on his way.
Oh yeah. No, they're not gonna at that level. They don't, unless you've done something like illegal. They don't fuck you that way. Like they're gonna
giving Halo to PlayStation is illegal.
So I want to show you guys this because I don't know if you've seen it. This was part of Sarah Bond's full memo, which there was a bit of information where she was like posting on LinkedIn earlier yesterday, because again, this news just broke the day before we were recording. She was like posting a couple hours beforehand, just like business as usual. Nothing. So I honestly think she got this news yesterday, that she was completely blindsided. But
I think it's hilarious that they let her basically do her shitty media tour. Was it like last fall where she did all those interviews?
She was the sin eater. She became the sin
100%.
eater, because they didn't give her any media preparation for that at all. They did not prep her for those at all. They just sent her out to die.
Yeah.
But it's this ending
that
to
was
her.
the week where every headline that came out daily was just like, oh, Sarah Bond also eats babies.
So it's she, you know, it's normal corpo speak, blah 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 blah. But as I prepare to sign off, I've been reflecting on 3 simple questions I've tried to use to guide my days. Did I bring my best? Did I help someone else succeed? Did I do my best work? I hope the answer has been yes for many of you. It's been a privilege to work alongside this team. This screams to me like she is extremely unhappy about leaving. Mm-hmm. She is very upset.
Feels
sad.
Yeah, feels
very
like
sad.
scorned.
I mean, yes, let's think about it for a second. Would I want to be an executive at Microsoft and make millions and millions of dollars? I could do that.
I mean, and she's getting Pat. Like, she was the next. She was
Phil's
She
protege.
was next. She was going to be next.
And then she had
got
a horrible
shifted.
media tour.
Instead, this is who we're getting.
We're getting Asha Sharma, who
which I'm gonna pull something else up, but like keep going on that. I want to show you guys something.
She comes to lead the CEO of Microsoft Gaming via previously been a marketing executive at Instacart, I believe.
Yeah, the Instacart, and there was one other.
And
Well, what she is now is the
But
CEO
no, she was-
of
Yeah.
She was
the
high profile
Korea.
at two companies who are known for their inshitification.
Yeah.
It was Instacart and one other.
I can't remember
I'll
what the
pull
other
it
one
up.
was.
Okay, so I found what I want to show you while you guys look for that. So this was like her tweet post.
Oh, Meta.
Yeah, it was Meta
Right.
and Instacart.
Right. This is, her Twitter announcement, about beginning, and it, links to her post of all these things, which we can get into her commitments, the great games, return of Xbox. What does that mean? The future of play. But then what I want to get into is she's I say she's responding. This is her social media intern responding. So again, this person has no background in gaming whatsoever, and so all these replies, and so from the Xbox brands, like for the Halo account, welcome aboard, I'm online and ready. Gears of War, welcome to the army, soldier, there's room for one more. That's just doing these yes, I am, like, hello fellow gamers type of bullshit.
Yeah.
That is just
Literally.
Age of Empires, welcome to the village, Asha. I'll start gathering wood. Welcome aboard, Asha. Ready for takeoff. Honestly, it was.
I mean,
it was.
So I'm just going to point out
lying
that
me.
this gives me the Obama giving himself the Medal of Honor meme, where they went to each studio and they're like, "You will fucking post a congratulations."
Yeah. But a couple other things about Asha that I wanted to highlight. One is that she comes from the AI product group of Microsoft, and
But she was also a former board member of Home Depot.
yep, and she's
a professional. She's a professional rich person. That's
Yes.
that's.
I was gonna
all
say,
she is.
what a career arc. Home Depot, Instacart, Meta, Microsoft.
You've
At
never
what
seen
point was she
someone
like,
write an
I
email
wanna
so
go
good.
from physical goods to people buying physical goods through our process to I want to sell random bullshit.
Yeah, I want to sell vaporware. But I wanted to talk about two things in her message to the Microsoft gaming workforce, I suppose, is who this is to. And one is that she starts by saying, I feel two things at once, humility and urgency. And that urgency part and like what she kind of talks about and how they need to change Xbox and Microsoft gaming, I think is very telling of how Phil Spencer and the current or now former leadership team was viewed at this point in time by the rest of Microsoft leadership,
I read
which is
that
poorly.
as I'm new boss, I'm going to be better than old boss.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that I wanted to call out here was that she talks about the last part of her letters about the future of play. And she says, as monetization.
First, can we just because I think that section must be read as contextualizing and really kind of refuting her second point, which was the one that I focused on the return of Xbox. That
Okay, yep.
read on its own, this section here that I've got highlighted, it's basically you could read this and be like, oh, they are rolling back their disastrous, this is an Xbox, play anywhere, the dilution of what an Xbox is. That this is her recommitting to the console as a pillar of what makes Xbox. They're speaking to, we are affirming the investment that all our fans have put into this hardware for 20 plus years. But then it gets into the app. But the future of play, it is just nope. We're sticking with the Xbox Anywhere and all this. But yeah, you continue. You were quoting something.
So she does that, and then she goes to say, as monetization and AI evolve and influence the future of play, we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Games are and always will be art, crafted by humans and created with innovative technology provided by us.
You are the AI slot person. What are you talking about?
I was wondering if
be
Satya
proud of
was
your
gonna-
heritage. Be proud of your
Satya
heritage.
who got mad at using AI
Yes.
slop
Yes.
as a
Stop-
term?
Stop calling it slop. And then she uses it in her press. Do you think?
Yeah,
do you think
I
she
wonder
signed
if
off
he
on
like
that one?
he sent a ninja to her office.
Well, it's the fact that like I don't like that these people are now using these terms because they're not going to actually not do it. They're just going to.
I think this is in response to the backlash Satya got for that phrase.
Totally.
They're like this is their PR firm being like, "Oh, that didn't go to plan. We need to actually this is again, we hear you, we see you, you're valid" type of thing.
Absolutely.
We are going to use that phrase in our biggest brand announcement of the past, years.
We saw how much you like using the word slop, so we're gonna use it now too, and once again make it meaningless like we do with everything else.
I know that she says they're reconfirming, like trying to stay with like hardware, but my entire read on this is just the next step in backing out.
I don't know. I there's gonna be a wind down. Like they want you to be running this on a cloud device anyways. But
realistically
the
want you
future
to
of
be
play.
doing it on Windows so that they can force you through their Windows ecosystem.
I mean, if they can do it on cloud service that they run and
exactly.
Profit from, then they would switch to that in a heartbeat.
I mean, Microsoft has always hated making hardware. They've never been committed to a hardware push in any sector that they work in. Yeah, like they care so little about their Surface line of laptops. It's kind of hilarious at this point.
Because there's no, like, when you are in a high margin business that is cloud computing and, providing operating systems on a subscription basis where your margin is huge, your profit margin is enormous. Like physical hardware is not even worth your time. There's just no reason to even do it outside of like, we do it so we can say we have that on offer.
I mean, they do it. They do it essentially because they have a competitor who does it, and they want to stay in that market.
Right.
Remember the Microsoft Zune? It was ahead of its time.
Their whole business model just does not work with.
They're reactive
with hardware. Like we know this. This is not like new analysis in any way, but like Sony to some extent and Nintendo is the this is their business model. They operate this way and will never abandon hardware and dedicated hardware nor exclusives because they will run the classic model of running hardware as a loss leader to make a killing on software. But Xbox's business model is now reliant upon people not buying games. They are not selling their software. So why would they sell hardware that's just going to lose them money? 100%. Nintendo makes a killing because their hardware.
They don't tell us how much money they're losing because they don't tell us how many consoles they sell anymore. That's how they do it.
But we've known that any console ever that's made always loses money.
Yep.
It ranges from like $50 to $100 per unit.
It's usually the first couple of years of production it's losing money, but eventually, especially this current generation with no price reductions. Like I know that the PS5 has been net even or profitable for the last 2 years as a hardware platform because once your lines are set up and you can get production costs down and reduce your overhead and you can get better deals on parts and equipment.
Nobody's getting good deal on parts these days.
Well, that's a whole other. They said they secured their memory for the next fiscal year's worth of sales.
And here's the thing. Xbox lost the most critical console era.
The digital
they
lost generation.
They lost it so poorly that there was just no chance of ever coming back from that. They're just not. They just don't have the ability to compete with how much more market share
No, and Phil
Sony
said that.
gobbled up.
Once people built their digital libraries, you weren't going to be able to pull them away.
Right, it's over. It's
and
over.
The problem
it's
being,
done.
like, you could target the multi-console households, and you could try to be one of their multi-consoles. But their decision on that instead was, well, they're just going to buy a PlayStation and a Switch, so let's just put our games on those, and they'll just buy our games there instead.
Their only options are to become Sega, which I think is probably the smartest choice, and would actually probably end up making them way more money. Is just cut all of that out and focus on selling games on other platforms,
or become the Ouya,
or what they have like toyed with, which I don't know is how smart of an idea it is to make the the super niche, truly premium living room experience, to make the super expensive PC equivalent for people who are scared,
which is what we know,
who are scared to
seems
make
to be their plan for next
PC.
generation.
Yeah, we that's what Sarah Bond said, right? In one of those
$1,000+ premium experience.
ultra premium, I think was her phrase.
Ultra, the premiumist,
Making an AI executive
it's
the
not
new
good.
head.
Marketing, AI
God.
marketing, like she's not just like a AI dev person or anything like that. She's the marketing of AI. Like she's marketing. She's the business side of that.
Look at it from the other side. Maybe a marketing person is what they needed, because their marketing has been horrible with their execs. Especially
there is an
Sarah
argument
Bond.
she should help their marketing 100%. Whether or not that makes them, make
it
better
doesn't
games.
Help that if
probably.
you then look at Instacart and Meta as her two previous pit stops, and like for all intents and purposes, Phil was great at marketing, especially early on in his tenure. Phil built an entire 5-year career on hope and prayers, and next year will be the year for Xbox. We're going to have so many exclusives next year. Just wait till next year.
Look at my gamer score. You can trust me.
Yeah.
Look at this cool bomber jacket that I'm wearing up on this stage. Don't you wish you could be wearing this cool bomber jacket with me?
I'm wearing the t-shirt. I'm wearing a graphic tee of an obscure franchise that we have no intention of reviving.
Yeah.
But it proves that I'm a real gamer, right?
I'll never forget because I had an Xbox One. It was the first console I bought out of college because it was $150 at Black Friday. The One S, the slim one. And I'll never forget the first time that they scorned me as a player was when they canceled Scalebound, their Platinum Games exclusive that they were marketing. And I was just sitting there, like, how are you're getting rid of Platinum Games game? Well, damn, I'm not going to keep playing your games anymore.
Yeah, they lost me in the 360 generation when my console bricked.
Well, there's a funny, people always talk about how the Xbox 360 generation was their best, and it was from a console sales perspective. But how many of those sales were people buying new consoles to replace their broken console?
It's crazy. You read, like, the estimates are like a 20+% failure rate on those. That's insane.
That would close most industries.
Yeah. Yeah. You go out of business for that.
And I always think it's funny because people reference that as the generation that Xbox won, but then you look at the final sales numbers and PS3 still pulled ahead at the end of that generation.
It's more that like 360 had like more iconic games. They were more successful on the software front in that generation. That's why people are nostalgic for the 360, not for the hardware.
It's because that's peak Halo. That's
no,
peak Halo.
It's because they did special edition consoles like the R2D2 Xbox 360 that made happy boops when you turned it on.
Yeah, imagine the R2D2 360 getting the red ring. What the
That would be funny.
All right, folks. I think that's going to do it for this month in gaming and gaming news. Again, a lot happened for the shortest month of the year. So much shit was packed in here, and it was tough to pick what we really wanted to talk about.
R.I.P. Sarah Bond.
We didn't cover the one thing that
She got done the worst.
Is continually getting scorned.
I don't know. I don't feel so bad. But yeah, I woke up the other day to Matt texting me like that. Oh yeah, they put out the Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I'm like, that's great, and I do still think that's great, but I just, of course, I wish that it had been, for myself, selfishly, that it had been Xenoblade Chronicles 3 instead.
I hope
it makes the most sense to do X. You know,
I hope what they do now is they go X, 1, 2,
2, and 3 last. Absolutely, that's what's gonna happen. I mean, because if they
don't do 3 at all and they just do a full remake,
you know, the 2 is the one that like needs it the most, and the one that I have the least interest in doing because it's the one that I've played the most recently. You know, because 2 is the oldest on the Switch hardware.
Yes,
because Definitive Edition for 1 came out after 2. Fortunately, I've seen some complaints about it though, that it might need another patch or so. But most of it seems exclusive to handheld, that it's better in docked. Performance is fine, but it's that resolution is, you know, that the upscaling is still not good, but that it's considerably worse in handheld and decent enough in docked, which I don't play those games in the handheld. The only bit I played of Xenoblade 2 handheld was farming the poppy.
Crystals.
The poppy game.
Yeah.
like in bed before, like for like an hour, just like listening to a podcast or something, zoning out, doing the fucking stupid Poppy mini game to get crystals to upgrade her. But yeah, I play those games docked.
I have a question for the group before we sign out. Do we think Mike knows that Fire Red and Leaf Green are coming out on Switch?
I don't know, and because they're coming out on regular Switch too, right? On Switch One, right?
It's just a regular Switch game. Yeah, Switch One.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I was actually quite astounded that they released those as purchasable games and not Nintendo Switch Online. And then I was not pleasantly surprised by people still being mad about that. I was like, you would have been mad if it was Switch Online. Now you're mad that you have to buy it.
And I think what they really have a right to be kind of upset about is that there's no confirmation whether or not they'll get Pokemon Home support. So, that's a big deal for them, for those people, for that ilk. Yo, my nephew, my oldest nephew is getting super into Pokemon.
That's the age group where they get them.
Like super into it, like borderline. He's getting obsessed with it.
Okay, so you need to bring him up, and then I'll sit him down and I'll convert him to Digimon. I'll be like, yeah, look how much cooler it is. This one has a chainsaw.
But what's cool
this
and
one
based
turns into a woman you can actually fuck.
But what's cool and based about his interest though at this point is that he hasn't touched the games, even though he was around when I was playing Arceus for our podcast now 2 years ago or whatever. But he's getting into the cards, and he wants to learn how to play the game.
Oh God,
TCG. He wants to learn how to play the game.
People don't actually play the game; they just buy the cards and resell them. He should know this.
Plenty of people play the game, but yeah, he had there's like a local game shop that runs like an event for kids, and they've got Pokemon professors that will help young kids like his age learn the game. So
that's cute.
He getting super
had
into
his true Pokemon TCG experience yet until he goes to buy cards and gets shoved to the ground by a fat, sweaty nerd.
By a scalper. I said the exact same thing. I said, hopefully he doesn't have to learn that harsh truth quite yet.
He pulls the last pack off of the pegboard, and the guy just comes through and just rips it out of his hands and stiff arms him down, pulls the fucking Heisman.
My sister was like, "Oh, do you want to learn how to do it with us?" And I was like, "Sure." I was like, "Absolutely." But if he's playing with Uncle Ben,
functionally the same as Magic.
So if he's playing with Uncle Ben, there are two rules that he must abide by. No, it's that cards that you play with must be sleeved, and you need a deck box. No, not a rubber band in sight. So he must abide by those two rules, which I think he'll do. He already has a binder that he's putting his collection in. Good. So
that's our generation had a lot of lessons to learn back then about the super expensive cards that we brought to the playground every day, that we would put in our pocket, that we would crease.
Yeah.
That we would pick our nose and then wipe it on the side.
I just want to know what exactly got him interested, what piqued his interest. He's seen a little bit of the show and likes it well enough. I don't think he's played any of the video games with his dad because they have a Switch.
I could tell you why. They have cool, colorful animal monsters.
Cute animals.
No, it just must have been that some kids because he's in kindergarten
got into it.
That some kids are into it, and they must have been training him, and he looked them. What he actually was really into at the start was they got him this encyclopedia book. He truly is of my blood. That he is. It's the autism part of it that is what gets him excited. He loves looking at the book and learning about the different it's these encyclopedia entries about here's the Pokemon with all its evolutions and its abilities,
small children to steal their soul.
That's what sucked him in. But I want to know what was the first bit.
Is you got to fully commit him, and we're just not going to end this episode. You need to go to the Pokemon store online and buy the $500 full-size one of the Evolution plushes, and just not get him Vaporeon because there's too much baggage with that.
Yeah, he's a Bulbasaur fan. That's his. Okay. That's his go-to starter.
I mean, he's going to be in for a lifetime of disappointment if he likes grass starters.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least he's not going. No shame to Charmander.
No, but let's be honest here. I, as a street hustling child, traded a Venusaur card that wasn't even good for a first edition Charizard, is all I'm saying. And then the kid's parents asked for me to give it back to him, and I fucking said no, I don't
Absolutely
have it.
not. You learn from your mistakes. All right, that's gonna do it. That's definitely gonna do it this time.
You just got a whole
we're done
short
for real.
of-
Yeah. All right, folks. We will see you next week for a topic.
A topic
to be
episode
decided.
that I still have to figure out.
Yeah. So we'll
Maybe it'll be Pokemon versus Digimon, and we'll get Mike to come on.
Interesting.
It'd be fun.
All right. We will see you next time. Till then, you can follow us on all the social medias. But thanks for listening. Hopefully, again, no more Bombshell news between now and the time of release.
Nintendo partnering with Sony to make next Sony console. It's a complete reversal of the original way the PlayStation came to exist.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.